Hello friends, it's Lisa and I'm back with another video today. Today is kind of different than my normal video, but it's quick and simple and it's a thank you card. So I made two and they turned out really great. I'm using a new stamp set from Concord 9th. I think it's called Perfect Poppies, but I'll link it in the description below, along with the other key products I used. Here you can see all the Distress Oxide I used. I did not end up using the Twisted Citron, but otherwise I used Festive Berries, Worn Lipstick, Bundled Sage, and Mowed Lawn. First I'm stamping down the poppy with some Gina K Amalgam ink. And I was thinking I was going to color this one with colored pencils or markers. I ended up not doing that because my plan was to use this one as a reference as to where to put the ink swash stamp down, but I realized I had to stamp it on this one as well, because otherwise I wouldn't know where the last one went, because I was going to stamp the poppy on top of the ink swatches for the other one. So you'll see that in a second. Next, I'm just spinning it around and adding the leaf in between where there's a hole in the poppy stamp. There's also a continuation of the stem, or you could stamp that Much Love between there and it'd look really great too. But I was wanting to use the thank you sentiment. So here you'll see I'm positioning the swatch stamp, and I decided to go with the Bundled Sage. I was thinking this was going to be the middle swatch, but I ended up only stamping out 4 of the swatches. I think I could have done 5 for sure if I had squeezed them together a little bit and positioned them a little bit higher, but the 4 stamps turned out really well. Now, in between repositioning the stamp, I do clean that stamp with water and a microfiber towel so that I don't transfer any ink where I don't want it. But see, here is where I stamp back on this page. I do go back and re-stamp with VersaFine Onyx Black ink over top of this panel here, but that's near the end, so we'll check that out later. That's the great thing about having the stamp positioners. And a lot of times why I leave the stamps on throughout the project, so if I need to reposition the stamp, I can do that. So I just repositioned the swatch stamp and I flipped it over so that it wouldn't look exactly the same. And I'm stamping above it with some Worn Lipstick because poppies are red and really pretty, but I decided to use 2 different colors and I went with the Worn Lipstick and the Festive Berries. So here I'm just showing you, I went ahead and stamped it again on the other panel. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit and just show you real quick stamping the last 2 stamps. I've already repositioned it and I'm stamping with the Festive Berries at the top. You can always double stamp this if you don't get a good impression, which I should have done once or twice, but I wasn't going for perfection with this. I was more going for just getting the color down and having kind of a washy look. Next, I'm stamping with the Mowed Lawn and it looks great here. You can see it really turned out well. So I'm going to stamp down the flower on the blank cardstock, and I could have made multiples of these and it would have been really easy, but I didn't. So I'm pouring down the Hero Arts White Satin Pearl embossing powder, which I like a lot. Personally, I think this looked a little bit better on the other card where I used clear embossing, just because the white satin pearl kind of dulls down the striking black and it just doesn't stand out as well. But I do use the white satin pearl here in a second on the background. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm going to use the Worn lipstick and this French scripty background stamp, which if you want more information I'll have linked below. And I'm going to stamp that down onto my background. Then I'm going to pour on some more of the white satin pearl embossing powder, and it's going to look really good. So I stamp this down by positioning it in my We Are Memory Keepers stamp press or precision press, and then I press down really hard and I go all the way over it, and it turned out perfect. So that would be that's the way I find the best to do the background stamps, because I can't really put the magnet on it because it'll mess up the stamp. So you can't really re-put it down because the paper will move and you'll get like a weird second image. So taking your time on that is important. I do have, I think, this whole video sped up double time, so I do take my time a little bit more when I'm stamping. I just didn't think you wanted to sit through that. So next I'm gluing down some fun foam on the back of the pieces with the flowers and the ink swatches. I've cut those out. I've fussy cut those out with a white border, and now I'm just gluing some fun foam on the back so that they will pop up. I find this to be the easiest way, is just to glue them with the Gina K Connect glue. You can also put them through your Xyron sticker maker machine. For this, I just glued them. I really do like the Gina K ink. Next, I took the Festive Berries and just put some down on some cardstock, and then I'm heat setting it because it will stay wet for a while. And I'm going to emboss the thank you sentiment with white embossing powder over the top of this. And then I die cut it out with a Simon Says stamp circle die, and this is the one that has stitching on both the outside and the inside. I really like those dies. I have the ovals, the squares, the rectangles, and the circles, so I do like those. But for this, the outside stitching doesn't actually matter because I don't use it, but I do really like that feature of those dies. So here I'm grabbing the white embossing powder, and I'm going to use my anti-static powder tool. So if you've never seen embossing before, this is how you do it. You put the anti-static powder tool on. Then I'm just double checking here that I'm not going to have any unwanted powder sticking. Next, I'm going to grab the Versamark ink pad, which is just a clear watermark ink pad, but will hold the white embossing powder. Now, I have learned from experience that it will only hold for about 24 hours, and if you haven't heat set by then, all the powder is just going to blow off. So I have had that issue before, so don't wait 24 hours. Just heat it fast. Now I'm really pressing down, and I'm going to pull that up, go straight down and pull straight up when you're using those little blocks. So I just skipped ahead. You saw me heat embossing that, but I just grabbed my gun and heat emboss it. So I cut it out with one of the circles that I was die circles that I was talking about, and there was a little hair that got in there, but it's not a problem. So I decided that's where I wanted the thank you to sit. I think I like the red thank you a little bit better than the green thank you, but I like the other flower a little bit better than this one that has the white satin pearl. So, all in all, I think both of them turned out pretty well. So I'm adding I added some glue to the flower panel so that it would hold that circle die cut where I wanted it. And then after about 2 seconds, I flipped it over and added some more fun foam to the back of the circle. Next, I am folding my card base in half. And this is just 80-pound Neenah cardstock. I need to get some 110-pound just so I have better card weight, but I haven't done that yet, so it's just the 80-pound paper. I use this, it's a Crafter's Companion, Ultimate Companion, or something like that tool that has those marks really easy for you to actually fold things in half. And I'm using my Teflon bone folder. Next, I grabbed my Xyron and adhesive gun thing and laid some adhesive down, and now I'm just lining those up. I find lining them up at the fold is the best because that's the hardest thing to fix if you mess it up at the fold. So then I'm just going to glue that down with some more Gina K adhesive, and I do stick it under my precision press just to add some weight while it dries for a minute. But the Gina K Connect glue is thick and it really grabs hold between paper and fun foam, or paper and paper, really quickly and really well. So even though it might not be fully dry, it does glue things together. I know some adhesives, until it fully dries, things aren't going to stick, but that's not the case with the Gina K. So I'm using some more of the Onyx Black VersaFine ink, and I'm stamping over where I'd stamped with the amalgam ink previously. Since I just left the stamps on my precision press plate, which is the nice thing about having multiple plates, that you can do that, and I stamped both the flower and the leaf. Then I heat embossed them with clear embossing ink rather than the white satin pearl. Next, on some watercolor paper, I heat embossed that thank you sentiment, same as before, also from the stamp set, onto the watercolor paper, and I just pressed some of the Bundled Sage and Mowed Lawn onto my craft mat, and I'm picking them up with a water brush and just adding them in. Then I will clean up a little bit on top, like you see here, of the thank you, the embossing part, after it's dried just a little bit, just air dried, just so that the embossing is still very clear. Then I heat it just a tad, not enough to melt the embossing powder again, just enough to speed it dry a little bit. So then I put it through my die cutting machine just the same way as I did previously, and I come out with a little circle die cut thank you. And I finish off that card exactly the same way I did before, so I'm not going to show you all that. Just putting the fun foam behind the flower and the circle die cut and then gluing them to the background. But that is everything. You can see they were really cute, really simple. I think that these are super easy and impactful thank you cards that don't take a whole lot of time, but really say, I'm thinking of you and I care. So here in just a second are some other card videos you may be interested in. Thank you so much for visiting. I have some more videos coming up, so if you're interested, you can go ahead and hit subscribe. Otherwise, I hope you guys have an amazing day, and that's it.